everybody, welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, TK, who is going to be rounding off the season with me.
Down the inside,
absolutely impossible season.
This is for the win between these two.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He needs to get it done now.
Blakey will dive to the inside.
We're robust, we got our elbows out.
Ronard takes the lead.
Because here comes Alfie Butcher.
Can't really complain with that one.
It's not going to be easy. The pressure is on, of course.
Jarno Watmere is your champion.
Alright, so here we are. Welcome everyone and a very good evening to week 2 of the social series. We're here with the PC series here at PSGL tonight time race 2. We are at Miami. This will be the first lobby. The second lobby will be streamed later on by commenting duo Corey Brooks and Omi. As for this first lobby, it will be myself, Mid-Sky, hosting this race for you. Now we've got quite a stacked race coming up in a bit, but before I take you through that, first to give you a little bit of information what we'll be having tonight. As already mentioned, we'll be driving at Miami. We'll have short qualifying session followed by a 29 lap race. There's no more lobby restarts. That's a good thing here about F125. The first few races we'll be doing on F125. For me, the first one to commentate as well. So curious to see how that all has improved. But seeing social media, a lot of the drivers and players are quite happy with this new iteration of the game. For the drivers tonight, we have 20 drivers in total, as you would expect. I'll just take you through the teams and the drivers real quick so you know who to support and who you will be seeing tonight. For McLaren, we will have Lighty and Thomas Laminen. Ferrari sees the pairing of Lilian Debecourt and Valentino Labella. For Red Bull, it's Gabor Santo and Diego Sorso. Then Mercedes sees Jerry van Bussel and Tomasetto Elia. Then Aston Martin, Ryan Gropp and Luca Ripasa. Alpine sees the pairing of Liam Stevens and Alex Gillen. Then Haas has Tony Hitala and Joris Kroesen. The Racing Bulls, almost confused there, Conrad Boehm and Damien Curiel. Williams has Campbell Adams and Sergio Sobrino, and then finally the pairing of Sauber is Julian Kleffenbuch and Gabriel Quintino. So those will be the 20 drivers that we'll be seeing tonight. I'm curious real quick in the chat who you think is going to be, at least for now, taking pole in what seems to be a sunny qualifying session later on race as well in Miami. In the meantime, I can see that we have 19 drivers in the lobby, so just quickly waiting for one. And as soon as that is sorted out, we can get ready for the qualifying session. So it leaves us with a little bit of time to relax, but also give some information on the track that we have tonight. So I'm quickly going to take you to the track map and tell you a little bit about the track. Let's see if I still remember my buttons. Perfectly. So tonight, Miami International Autodrome, 3.36 miles or 5.412 kilometers. The first race holds in 2022. 19 corners located near the Hard Rock Stadium and Miami Gardens. The track has 3 DRS zones. Section after turn 8 with a zone from turn 9 all the way up to turn 11. So that's the long back straight. Then we have detection turn 16. Just after turn 16 with the zone on that second back stretch all the way, well, just before that final hairpin, the final few corners. And then finally, after that hairpin, turn 17, we have another detection point with the zone, the start-finish straight, the shortest DRS zone of the 3 that completes the full lap. So we're probably going to see a lot of overtakes, especially on that first and second DRS zone. Perhaps a little bit in the third one, but a little bit less as we can predict. In the meantime, I can see the lobby is counting down, so we are getting ready to head into the game. and to have this second social race here of PSGL about to be started. Of course, we are also, well, at least the guys of PSGL should say, preparing behind the scenes for season 40. So I think we are all very excited for that to get underway, hopefully in not too long in the near future. Today though, as we mentioned, first up, short qualifying session in Miami. There's no restart, so following the qualifying session, we can go on to the race immediately. That will at least cut back on some delays that we've had in the previous iteration, F1 24. So that makes for a much more seamless stream for us, but also for the drivers. Means that the setup that they now use in qualifying session, they can no longer change it afterwards, and will indeed need to use. They need to use that during the race. So slightly different for them, but I think much more fair and more interesting for us all to see as well. Now I see. I just need to mute myself in game. The settings seemed okay, although I do see myself pop up in the game, but that's okay. We're gonna quickly change over to the game view so we can see all of our drivers, and it looks like Damien Curiel will have to quickly rejoin so we can fully see him. I'm going to get you all the information that you need with the lap data and the track map telemetry. Of course, we keep off so that the drivers have that little bit of freedom, and it looks like Gabriel Quintino is the one leading the bunch, and he is already heading out to that first DRS zone, so now approaching turns 8 and 9, and then the weaves that he goes through the extra turn, so turn 10, and then finally leading up. There's turn 10, now leading up into the end of that DRS zone, and we have a Haas tailing him already quite quickly as they approach the end of that zone. So turn 11 and turn 12, it's that Mickey Mouse section. We'll go on board. You can see how tight that really is and how much speed the drivers need to take through. A lot of curb that they need to take on both sides, especially going into the left hand side. And then the second back straight, after which the lap is going to start. Looks like one of the Haas drivers really can't wait. I wonder if that's Tony. This Tony indeed, and not Joris. So we'll be riding on board with Tony in a moment's notice. So I'm going to give you a little breather from all the talking. And as soon as Tony starts his lap, we'll be back with him. Oh, it's quite nice to hear that engine running, and here comes the Haas now with that Ferrari engine into the first turn. A little bit of a slide going on there, but of course still the first run out of many to come, as Tony is now approaching the fast bits of that first sector. First left, going in very hard, not dropping too much, still keeping it in quite high gear, still 6th gear all the way through before dropping back into 3rd. Then early upshift into 4. Can't go into power all that early with a 28.8. That is the first sector done and dusted. Now on to the first DRS zone that will be used in the race as we go under the banners of the F1 25 and other sponsors. Now braking into turn 11. Good entry point there, hitting the curb nicely as he's using as much of the track as he can into turn 12. Keep it short in 13 and 14. Use a bit of curbs, but he overshoots that quite a bit and has invalidated as a result. So not the best of runs that Tony would have been hoping for, but maybe Gabriel Quintino is doing slightly better. And he had a 28.9 in the first sector, so a 10 down. Now it's a 1 dead point 2, as quite a few drivers are already following him, but Gabriel will be the one setting the benchmark as he's now approaching turn 17. Overshooting that quite a bit actually, so not the ultimate lap for Gabriel either. Of course, these drivers still getting used to the new game that they've only been able to play for around about a week, and the first lap set is a 1:25.0. Liam Stevens immediately goes exactly 1/10 quicker. I want to see what this Aston Martin is doing of Jerry Van Bussel, who was 2/10 down on the time that we saw earlier on, potential being set as Jos Kroesen goes to provisional P1 with a 24.8. So it looks like 24 is definitely on the cards here tonight, as Jerry now puts a 1.04 in the second sector. So it looks like he is still finding a little bit of his motion as well. I think he'll be slightly behind Gabriel Quintino, although if he does nail that final corner, we'll get an awful lot closer. So probably 25-1, 25-2 that Jerry is heading for, and as he comes across the line, we indeed see a 21.1 high up in there, as Julian Klaffenbuch has managed to get into third, but it's Luca Ripasa who goes quickest with a 24.7. That's a great lap, putting him on the board with a great marker there. As we have more and more drivers starting their laps. Gabor has just started his lap 2. Lina Ndabakur is in the first sector. It's quite busy out there. With a 28.9, hasn't really lost any time there, so should be on for quite a decent run. Konrad Böhm has just started his lap as well. Sobrino is in the first sector, and Campbell Adams is about to round off his first lap, but he dives it straight into pit lane. Zorzo is still on an out lap, must have invalidated earlier on, and Hutala is currently out, so that means that Dabakor is the furthest one down. We saw that Van Bussel did a 0.4, Lilian Dabakor goes for a 0.3, so he's on for around about the time that Gabriel Quintino was able to do earlier on, so around about P5, P6, so the Ferrari man is currently heading out for. So quite a bit of locking up heading in there, but does manage to get much closer to that apex, as we've seen other drivers do. And across the line, does go for 25.0, so it shows that that final sector was indeed quite nicely done, as now more and more drivers are starting to pour in with their laps. And I'm curious to see, here comes Gabor. He will be the next one to cross the line. That's a 24.8, great lap from a Red Bull driver, currently P2 that he is on the board. And Konrad, and looks like that was a second warm-up lap, but he's going back into the pit. No, it was not a second warm-up lap. He has at least aborted that lap. And for Tony Hitala, he should be on for his second attempt, as more drivers are now starting to pour in and out of pit lane. Thomas said earlier, I still need to redone Damien Curry. I'm not sure if he's coming back within a moment's notice. Gabriel Quintino currently on an out lap, and I think the other drivers are just about to head back into pit lane. Now that's how you take an apex. Haas driver showing us how that's done perfectly fine. Already saw that Tony was quite quick in that first sector, but he overshot in his first lap here at the Mickey Mouse chicanes. But now he's done so nicely, and this seems to be very smooth. And indeed, with a 1.2, 1 minute exactly, 0.2. We'll just refer to it as 0.2s. This might be too confusing, but this seems to be right about the 25.0 to 24.9 mark, but overshooting there, definitely 25.0 or even 0.1. Should be around P8, I would assume. It's P7 actually, as Tony gets his first lap out on the board, so well done by him. And we'll be switching over to Quintino once more, as we hear more and more Ferrari engines hammer it down the main straight here in Miami. Of course, in Miami, there's always a lot to do about the track and the ambience and everything around it. We know it's in the Miami Gardens, where the Miami Dolphins National Football League team has their stadium. Miami, of course, a little bit more famous for Miami Beach, Miami Vice, whatever you'd like to call that. No beach here. Do have an artificial harbor here, and artificial swimming pools as well. But nothing artificial, of course, about these drivers here putting out their best laps on the board, as we see our Zauber driver Gabriel Quintino hoping to improve to at least a top 5 for now, provisionally, with around about 10 minutes left on the clock, I would assume. Can't see the exact time with that yellow in Sector 1. Of course, it's not going to affect any of the other drivers. But I think Gabriel will be shooting for a 0.1 here, coming out of Sector 2. And indeed gets a 0.1. So it's about a tenth and a half quicker currently. That would put him in the lower 9s. And that would be just a tad quicker than his teammate Julian Klaffenberg. So let's see if he is indeed able to match or beat that time of his teammate. That final corner does go so quite nicely. Had a little bit of space on exit of turn 17, but he comes across the line and does indeed improve even a tenth more. So that's a 24.839, 2,000 slower than Joris Kuze, who in turn is 2,000 slower than Gabor. So it shows how quickly everyone is matched. It's only so far Luca Ripasa, who's quite a tenth up on the entire pack. Let's see in the meantime if we can catch any of the drivers that we have not seen before. Lighty's currently in sector 1 and he's the furthest one ahead. So we will watch the McLaren driver go around. Of course, in the real world, McLaren, the constructors are currently leading, but in here in F1 25, especially at PSGL, we all have equal cars. So it does not really matter what team you drive for, as long as you represent their colors with all, well, honesty, dignity, and full pace, of course. Seems to, ooh, that's quite a big lockup, but we've seen more smoke in the F1 25 game compared to 24. It's something that some drivers have complained about, so maybe that's something we will see changed later on. But look at Lighty flicking it through the corners there. It seemed very smooth, but with a 0.5, not as fast as you would be expecting. And he's now on for about a 0.3 or 4, which would put him in P14 ahead of his teammate. But not a great lap so far yet. Although he does make that apex nicely again. So it looks like Lighty has gotten the lines nailed down, but does need to improve a little bit more in pace. And with 25.3 does at least go a little bit quicker than we were thinking, as Campbell Adams currently goes quick as the first one to dive into the 0.6s. There we have our house driver then, Joris Kuze. He's a 10th up. It's a 0.1 that we're looking for in that final sector. Konrad Böhm, in the meantime, has managed to get P3 with the Racing Bulls, but looks like Joris might have something to say about that. Should be on for at least a 0.7 or maybe even a 0.8. How close he can get to that provisional pole, we are bound to see as he's about to cross the line, and there he goes. It is a P2 for now, 7,000 slower than Campbell Adams is. But I think Luca Ripasa will have something to say about. Look at that, a 59.9. That's the fastest middle sector we've seen. And he goes to a 24.595. That's an absolute massive time from Luca Ripasa. And it looks like he is the man to beat in this qualifying session. Great lap all the way through. Klaffenberg looks like he's made a mistake in that first sector. So he's going to abort that one. And that means we are going to go further down the line. So Brino, I think he might be on for a lap. Currently in P8, 24.981 as he has currently set. Can't see what his sector time is currently. Let's see how he nails that twisty section. Takes a lot of inner curb. One to the right didn't go as smooth, but swinging it back again nicely. And he's go for a 0.1, but he's a little bit slower than he was earlier on. I'm not sure if he's going to complete that lap or if he's going to dive that into pit lane at the end of turn 17. Let's find that out now. I don't think he's that much quicker, but he does believe he can go quicker. So we are going to watch him go across the line. He goes from P8 to P7. Actually finds over a 10th in that final sector. So in his first run, that final sector was not a good one for Sergio, and he has managed to improve lots there. Now Lilian Dabakor not on a run for now. Zorzo was quite a bit quicker in his previous run, and he's now saving, so he's just completed his one. So currently P12 for him, hoping to improve at least a tad bit more. And then Tomasetto has driven it into pit lane. So it looks like we have no drivers currently on either an out lap or a hot lap. So it means we have a little bit of time to wind down, to relax a little bit, and then our drivers can prepare for their third and final run. Still yet to find out how much time we exactly have. I guess that's still a mystery to me. It still shows yellow in sector 1, but there's absolutely nobody in sector 1. So big mystery there. I would assume we have about 4 or 5 minutes remaining. I think that seems the most likely. But, yeah. A permanent yellow in Sector 1, which is not helping us with that at all. I mean, can't be a lizard on the track. What animal would we find in Miami on the track, guys? What do you think? Just be a bird or seagull. That must have been squashed then if they hit it. Now, perhaps we will never find out, but we are going to wait now before our drivers are going to prepare for their final runs. As I said, run 3 will likely be the final run. It looks like an Aston and also a McLaren are already leaving pit lane. I would assume that Jerry would be the first one to leave pit lane. Instead, no, it looks to be Luca. The man currently on provisional poles, the first one to get back out on that track. Not what exactly what I was expecting, but I think he just wants to have a clean run with nobody being in his way. Currently is the man to beat though. A 10th quicker than the entire field. Shown great pace so far. First of 0.7, which would have already put him in the top 3. But that 0.5 in the second run does show how quick he is around this Miami International Autodrome. Oh, or Dolphin, of course. Dolphin could be. It's not Real Harbor, though. Who knows? Maybe it's one escape from the zoo. Who knows? There's a Williams is already starting to tail him as well. Most drivers have now gone out of pit lanes. Except for Zorzo, Double Course and also exit. So Zorzo will be the final one to set a lap time there. We're almost able to see. There we go. We have 1 minute and 50 seconds remaining, so everyone has enough time for that one and final run. Damien Curiel seems to be not participating in the qualifying session whatsoever, so he'll be starting at the back of the grid if we see him participate at all. But we are going to go for a final onboard lap with Luca Ripasa, currently our fastest man out there on track. He has provisional pole in his hands, but how much quicker does he need to be to seal that pole position here for our second week of social races? The first social race here on Miami, the second one due to start in 40 minutes from now. It looks like Ripas has already overshot it quite a bit in the first turn, but I don't think he will have time to start another lap. It won't indeed, so this lap will have to be it, and he's going to continue at full speed. He's invalidated. He's already invalidated when he swung that back in turn 6, I believe. So he has to abort. It won't be a quicker time from Ripasa. On the other hand, Campbell Adams, currently half a tenth down on his own fastest lap. So will be a tough one for him to improve anymore. And then we have Conrad Bum, who has already started his lap as well. But I think Gabor is a little bit further down the road. So let's see how much quicker he is. I think we'll be looking at the top 6 a little bit with split sector times. But Gabor is quite a bit slower than Ripas, about 3/10 already. So I don't think he'll be threatening him whatsoever. Gabriel Quintino, much further down the road. Let's see if his second sector time is any that drivers should feel threatened with. But it looks like going through the Mickey Mouse chicane, not optimal for Gabriel. He is a 10th quicker, but he's not diving into the 0.9s, the 59.9 that we saw Luca do earlier on. Campbell Adams has invalidated as well. He won't improve. Jos Kruse already down a 10th and a half in the first sector. Then Conrad Bohm has invalidated now as well. It looks like most of the drivers are not improving. Gabor is not improving either. Quintino is now going to come across the line. He is one of the few that is improving. He does go from P6 into P2, so that is a great run for him. Sobrino down in that first sector. Klaffenbach then now coming through the end of the second sector. He's quite a bit quicker. That's 3.5 tenths, and that's the second driver who's managed to get in under 1 minute in that second sector. So Klaffenbach could be on here for a potential pole position if he nails that final corner. A little bit of slide on entry. But here he goes then. This Albert driver in all green comes across the line. Is he quicker than the other green car? He is not. He misses out. by 23 thousandths of a second. But will there be more drivers improving? Sobrino doesn't come close. Dabakur, we don't see his sector time currently, but he's far off as well. Zorzo is the man who's also invalidated, and that seems to be it. That's it, folks. It's pole position for your Aston Martin, Luca Ripasa, whose second run was the best one out there, and he'll be joined on that front grid by Julian Klaffenbach, the Sauber driver. Sees his teammate Quintino matching him quite nicely, putting that car up in third. But a great pole from the Dutchman, followed by two aforementioned drivers. Then we have Campbell Adams, Jos Kuze in P5, Liam Stevens then, our lobby host, in P6, Conrad Burnham 7th, Sergio Sobrino in 8th, Gabor in 9th place, and then it's Ryan, the first Mercedes driver, in P10. Outside P10, we find Tomasetto, Leon Dabakur, Tony Itala, Diego Zorzo, Valentino Labella, Jerry van Bussel, Lighty, Thomas Laminen, Alex Gillen, and finally Damien Curiel, who did not participate in that qualifying session. Now, the big difference that we had in comparison to F1 24, there's no more going back to the lobbies, there's no more going back to us commentators, and there's no more ads that we have to wait for. We are going to prepare for our 29 lap race, so let our drivers cue in the setups and see if we're going to see more of that hard mediums that you would see in the previous game. We do expect one pit stop, as at least is customary for most. Maybe if we have a safety car, some drivers will deviate from that. But I'm curious to see if strategies have quite a bit of an impact in 25 comparison to 24. But I do believe we will see most drivers go for the hard and mediums. In the meantime, in the chat, let us know what you think strategies are going to be and who you predict will be our top 3 at the end of the race after 29 laps around the Miami International Autodrome. So a little break, a little breather, and an Aston Martin on pole position. Who'd have thought? Not something we see in the real world. I think the last time must have been in Turkey when it was Stroll doing that in the wet, but that must have been, was it 2020? It doesn't matter, because here we are with a race in Miami 2025. We have 5 red lights. They're off early, and off the line we go with a great start on the inside for Julian Klaffenbach, but immediately has to slot behind our pole sitter. Let's see if they keep it all nice and tight through that first quarter. 4-man wide they go with their Mercedes is in a sandwich, and that's a little bit of sliding going on there as well. Looks like Tomasetto has lost quite a bit of track position there, with the McLaren scrambling around the back as well. Damien Curiel has managed to join in for the race at least, but looks like at least at the front, positions remain largely unchanged. We are going to see position change at least for the first laps, and then later on we will see a little bit of information about the tires that they've chosen. Jos Kuzen has managed to get a position up onto Campbell Adams. Sobrino's up by 1, then it's Dabakur Itala and Zorzo who's up by 3. Gabor's dropped down 4, and finally Van Bussel, Thomas Laminen, and also Damien Curiel gained 2 positions, with Tomasetto the biggest loss here so far in lap 1, involved in that contact, going 4 wide at the entrance of turn 2, exit turn 1 as well, and that has cost him dearly. Further up the field, Ripasa is starting to get a little bit of a gap, but of course at the start of the next one we are going to see DRS come into play, and the big question is if that is going to affect strategies or anything at all. But let's take a quick look on the tires that the drivers chosen. It looks like everyone has gone for the medium, so no offset strategies whatsoever. It looks like they have chosen for at least a little bit more grip at the start of the race, and then just drive it out on the hards later on. So that does at least mean that we can see the tire strategy quite nicely for now. Let's see if we can get some onboard views. Let's go to Joskus, who's actually up 2 positions already. He's managed to dispatch Gabriel Quintino just a moment ago. And he's now trying to get closer to Julian Klaffenbuck in that other Zauber. It looks like he's already trying to stay out of the slipstream of Luca Ripasso, so has no intention of overtaking Aston Martin for a P1 in the race. But of course, right now is not the moment where you want to be in front. That will be lap 29 where you want to take it. More specifically, this is where you want to be P2, maybe even P3. And heading into turn 17, that is where you will want to be ahead to take that race victory. I have some more drivers pulling out of the warm air. I think there's a Red Bull almost starting to mount a charge on one of the Haas drivers. That would have been Sorzo on Itala. He holds back for now as J.F. Van Bussel's managed to get past Lighty, pushing the McLarens down in 15 and 16. That's another view that we haven't seen in a very, very long time. Curiel has managed to gain another position as well. He's now up in 17, and we have a yellow in Sector 1. We have another Dolphin on the track. As a man, I was almost floating, but nothing remains to be seen. So, not sure if this is a new, nice little feature that we have here in F125, but it does mean that it's slightly more difficult to see what is all going on because there is no yellow reported in Sector 1, as we can see on the minimap. Oh, now we do. Now we do. It's Tomasetto who has stopped on the track. That must mean some damage for him. And we're currently with the onboard view as well, so we're not getting a bird's eye view of this either. Alex Gillen has managed to move himself past Curiel once more. And Valentino Labella has actually gained 3 positions there. Was down in 20th, now 17, so it looks like that contact has made quite an impact. And also 1 second down onto Thomas Laminen. But does the Mercedes man have any damage? Not as far as I can see right now, but seeing how far back he's gone, could have been a wing end plate missing, but it looks to be all clean for now, so that's good news. As we now go back to the fight for P10, maybe even P9, Zorzo and Itala were currently just fighting for that, heading into turn 17. We're now on lap 4 of 29, but looks like most drivers are starting to take it a little bit more calmly, and it looks like Gillen and Curiel have gone into pit lane, so they must have had damage. We hear in the chat that Gillen has to change his front wing, thus so indeed goes to the hards, and looks like Curiel has also got a new front wing. So where Tomasetto didn't have any damage, Curiel and Gillen did have that damage. So thank you very much for keeping us posted with that. So we have the full view of whatever is going on the track if we miss that right off the bat. Meantime, we saw Campbell Adams pull out quite a bit. Sorzo has now finally, but I say finally, he is down the inside now in turn 12, and he has now indeed managed to complete that overtake onto Tony Itala. So great move by our, at least for now, first Red Bull man. And now next in line will be the Ferrari of Lilian Debicor, but he taps the wall there slightly on exit of turn 16. That does compromise his exit a little bit, but looks like that won't hurt him, at least for now. And does seem to be nice and safe in P10 for the time being. And it's actually Ryan Grob who wants to get past Itala as well. He's now on the outside. Let's go on board with Ryan, who has managed to complete the overtake already. Itala falling back 2 positions now on this lap. And he has to watch out because Hal already has to defend from Gabor, who wants to go around the outside. There seemed to be a little bit of contact there, but there's no front wing end plates missing for Gabor, so that's great news for him. But he will have to stay behind, at least for now, as Valentino Labella has managed to get past Thomas Laminen for P16. But further up the field, it looks like the gaps are still big enough that we don't have to worry about missing any overtakes or interesting actions. But I want to see how Liam Stevens is doing, because he's about 4/10 away of the man in 5th, and that's the Williams of Campbell Adams. There we go then, or a little gumball going around that Alpine. Does give you a little bit of bubblicious ideas, especially that pink color. Mixed with a little bit of white. Well, a little bit white, mostly blue to be fair. Maybe some toothpaste mixed into that, but doesn't matter. Liam Stevens currently in P6, as it's actually Julian Klaffenbach who's managed to get a very close to Luca Ripasses. Not overtaking, but he's showing at least that he has the speed to get past if he does want to. But I think they're just waiting for the end, at least, of the first in before they want to try and make some moves. And I think Joris is trying and starting to do the same thing. Liam Stevens still seems to be stuck in that Williams sandwich with that gumball Alpine. But he has a little bit more of a sizable gap behind than is up in front. Up in front's now down to 4 tenths behind is 5. It looks like most of the gaps are at least 4 tenths or more. But it's now Joris Kuzu who's starting to get closest. Damien Curiel sets the fastest lap time, 1:29.3, which is, well, was faster than the lap record set in 23. I think this year we might have gone quicker than that already. But already quite some decent lap times. The early stages of the race, currently lap 6 of 29, so quite the distance still to go. But I'm starting to wonder if we're going to see some position changes in the top 5, more notably a change for P2, because Joris is awfully close to the back of that Kick Sauber, immediately pulls out of the slipstream, so he seems to have no intentions of going by. Now dives back in. Teammate of Klaffenbach, Gabriel Quintino, does the same thing, so indeed no intentions of overtaking one another. So we're watching a bit of a train coming down that back straight, and it looks like Gabor though will have something to say. We have some drivers coming into pit lane. That's Tony Tala and Ryan Grob going for their first pit stop, perhaps also their only pit stop, so it's quite early to go at the end of lap 6. But looks like also the Red Bull driver is starting to slide quite a bit. So I wonder if they will be able to complete that one stop, or even, or if Tardeg is that much higher in F125 that they can't do that. As Damien Curiel gets a penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and that will be the end of his run here in the social race. Of course, that damage earlier on in contact with Tomasetto and Alex Gillen did not help him out. But not participating in quali also meant he had to start at the back of the grid. But he will be our first retiree of the night, so not a great race for the Racing Bull man. Still have that yellow in Sector 1, this time a legitimate yellow. Of course, that Racing Bull leaving pit lane, that will soon disappear in thin air. And then hopefully we won't see permanent caution in Sector 1. On the other hand, looks like Gabor, because of those pit stops, he is suddenly left vulnerable from behind, because up ahead, his teammate 1.7 seconds away. Behind him, the drivers are within DRS range, so let's go on board with Jerry van Bussel, as he could potentially get much closer to start finish straight. We see Gabor struggling a lot on exit of turn 17 heading into 18, but can Jerry get close enough to go for a dive into turn 1? He will hold off for now. But you would only expect that on the first DRS of lap 8, he will be able to get past that Red Bull and hopefully try and close that gap on the top 9 for now. Campbell Adams, in the meantime, has gone into pit lane as well. He stays ahead of the men that were behind him earlier on. Ryan Grob is 2.2 seconds away, so it's good news for him. But Campbell Adams being the only one stopping means he won't have the use of DRS. So a potential undercut does not seem to be on the cards. But here we go then. Jerry van Bussel will dive to the inside and swoops past Gabor, as there's no way to really hold that off. And that is how powerful that DRS is. As for the other driver, yeah, Jerry now will have to watch his rear view mirrors, because now in the second DRS zone, he potentially could be vulnerable from Gabor once more. And also Lighty seems to be amping up the pace. Further up ahead, positions remain unchanged. The top 9 but I think we're going to see some pit stops coming in a moment. So let's watch our top drivers, the highest ranked drivers for now. The race lead is for Luca Ripasa. He stays out. Top 3, 4, 5 stays out. More and more drivers staying out. Top 9 staying out. Van Bussel will stay on track as well. It looks like our top 13, the drivers that haven't pitted yet, will stay out for the time being. And they're going for a significantly longer first run than the other drivers. In the meantime, Campbell Adams, who has stopped a lap earlier compared to Ryan Grubb, has managed to extend that gap by about 5 to 6 tenths. So he's quite pushing those hard compounds. And it looks like he wants to make that undercut work and be ahead of all the other drivers when they inevitably be making their stops for the hards. But seeing that the mediums are now already starting to last around about 9-10 laps, I think we will indeed be seeing a one-stopper for this race here tonight. Let's go back to Jerry, because he is under quite a bit of pressure from Gabor just behind. Look at that, how close they are. Lighty as well had to back off a little bit into turn 12. We saw in that Mickey Mouse chicane how quick Jerry was there in the previous lap, but this lap he's lost quite a bit of time. Zorzo has also lost track of the drivers up ahead. Julian has passed Ripasa for race lead, so it looks like we're finally seeing some changes up ahead in the field, which would mean that our pit stops are starting to become closer and getting closer as we await the drivers to come in. Top 9 has not stopped yet, and the rest will indeed hold on for another lap. But I would not be surprised if Klaffenbach and Jos Kuzen will come in at the end of lap 10, if not lap 11, as Campbell Adams now sets the fastest lap time, 129.2. So he is significantly quicker than the drivers up ahead. Actually, he's gained about 3 seconds on Valentino Labello, who's currently in P13. So he's really showing how quick he is, and he's gained a second as well on Ryan Grubb, who's only on 1 lap older hard tires. So he definitely has the pace going for him, and he will be a driver to watch out for later on in the race, as surely once all the drivers come in, he will be our provisional race leader. And now more and more gaps are starting to emerge. Contino has also lost touch of Joas Kuze up ahead, 1.1 seconds, no DRS on that back straight. He will have, so will be vulnerable from the Alpine of Liam Stevens behind. But I wonder if Ripasa wants to try and take one back onto Julian. Looks like he's going for the slipstream at least, but not going full throttle anymore, so he doesn't go by just yet. We see one of the Ferrari engineers letting us know that they think there will be a 2-stopper, and could be some drivers, definitely the ones that pitted, could opt for that. I think especially Alex Gillen will go for a 2-stopper, but most of the medium runners are staying out quite a bit. Now lap 11 already, so we might even see a mix of a 1 or 2 stop, unless they go for double stop. I think that is very unlikely. So let's see how strategy pans out, but at least does look like we might have a bit more strategy variance than we had in F1 24. See if we have another driver we can go on board with. He's getting closer up ahead. Liam Stevens has actually passed Gabriel Contino, which we saw off the main cam. And here we have Sergio Sobrino, who's starting to dive into the inside, wants to go for late braking, does not stick it down the inside, so he's waiting for now. But he knows that second DRS straight, he can just soar past instead of getting overtaken instead by Gabriel. So he just wants to stay close, exit turn 16, and get that move done before turn 17. He is definitely close enough, but I think Contino has managed to sneak back in DRS, and he indeed has. But still, with that extra use of some ERS, does manage to get past Contino, and on the inside will complete that move. So 2 positions lost for Contino. He might go into pit lane at this lap. See if he does indeed. He does go into pit. So his tires were done for. He does get a penalty for speeding in the pit lane, brakes way too late, and that is going to hurt his chances later on for scoring any sweet points. More drivers have gone into pit lane. Lighty and Valentino Labella have gone in, so 3 more drivers. Campbell Adams, of course, cleared them by quite a stretch. Groppen and Tala have also managed to get by them. And I think even Laminen might get close to being ahead of Quintino. No, actually, that gap is far too big. But it does show that the front runners will come out behind Hitala already, and that means the gap to Campbell Adams will be about 6 seconds. So that early pit stop from Campbell Adams, seeing that he had that much pace, I wonder if he can extend this stint long enough to just go for a 1-stop, or if he's going to go onto the softs for the final 6-7 laps and try to soar past everyone. It looks like he might be the only driver that could make a 2-stop work in comparison to the others. So that will be a driver to watch out for. The Williams currently in P11, as we see on the driver feed now. He is already approaching the back of Gabor and Jerry. And reminder, they have not stopped yet. Campbell Adams has made that pit stop, has already caught up with them. So he's got some immense pace in that Williams. Now, as we see Jonah confirming in chat, it seems likely that Campbell will have to do a 2-stop, but that does mean it's going to be very dangerous for the other drivers. Look at that, going around the outside of turn 19. He just flies past that Red Bull. Nothing he could do about that, but I'm more interested because Klaffenbach, Dabakur, and Zorzo have gone into pit lane the end of lap 12. They come out behind Hitala as predicted, but ahead of his teammate Quintino. But the good news for Julian is that the gap up ahead less than a second, so we'll be able to clear them quite quickly. But then the gap to drivers up ahead about 5 seconds, as Campbell Adams just soaring past Jari van Bussel too, meaning that he's already up in P6. Great pace from the man, as Bella is going to have a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. That is track limits. And it looks like we're starting to have some debates in chat as well about potential strategies that we're going to see. But I'm curious, seeing how the race is currently playing out. We're almost at the halfway mark. Let us know your predictions for our top 3, so we have a bit of an idea who you will be rooting for the remainder of this race. As in the meantime, Cruzen is starting to amp up the pace onto Ripasso. We of course saw Klaffenbach take that pit stop in the previous lap, meaning they will have to follow now to avoid undercuts, and indeed the top bunch does follow. Ripasso, Cruzen, Steven, Sobrino, Conrad Böhm. I think I heard a bit of contact further behind, so I hope there's no more damage. And then it will already be Campbell Adams. But here they go for pit stops. Quick one for Cruzen, who will still stay behind of Ripasso. Klaffenbach, indeed the bunch has dispatched them, so that means Ripasso finds himself from P1, P2, maybe even, down in P6 with a gap 1.8 seconds. So perhaps a lap too late that he's made that pit stop, because Klaffenbach is up in P2 and he's about 3 seconds down, so he's lost quite a bit of time. Quintino picks up a 3-second time penalty for track limits. That will rule him out for a potential race victory, but he will be looking in his rearview mirrors, because as soon as we get to that second DRS zone, Ripasso will be right on him. See if there's anyone else and anything else that we missed. We do have a bunch. The top 4 that stopped just now: Ripasso, Cruzen, Stevens, and Sobrino are within range of one another. Dabakur and Zorzo stopped 1 lap before. Conrad Böhm currently finds himself in P12. Will be hard to overtake the 2 drivers that have just undercut him. And Gabor and Van Bussel find themselves in 17th and 19th respectively. As we see Ripasso already go past Hitala. Yeah, Hitala does not have that pace, and indeed Cruzen will find himself on the inside as well. And his teammate not giving him that much space though. Really fighting hard tooth and nail with one another. But Cruzen does dispatch him quickly enough, which means that he will keep that hunt on for Ripasso, as Klaffenbach is eating away that gap that did exist between him and Campbell Adams was 5.3 seconds just about a lap ago. That's now down to 3.5. So great pace all the way through. Makes me once again question if another pit stop would be a great idea for Campbell, because that gap gets eaten a lot quicker than I was anticipating. Go for a pit stop. I think if he does go for one, he finds himself towards the back of the grid. Will need to improve quite a bit. Will be tricky, but if he stopped too early, meaning that his tires won't last all the way to the end, then he has to go for one. So that's a question for later on. Now we find Repass on the inside of Grob, also going past Quintino. So he is now back into P3. 3 seconds down though onto Klaffenbach, who stopped 1 lap prior to him. And Cruzen still stuck for now behind the Kick Sauber and the Mercedes. He will need to clear both on this back straight, so has to use quite a bit of battery. Look, that battery flying down. But I don't think he will be able to dispatch both. They're going to go 3 wide into turn 17. That will be good news for Joris. But will there be... It will be tight there on the entry. And he does manage to get past those cleaner tires. Those less corrupt tires do give him the advantage over Quintino there, as Liam Stevens has managed to get past Grob. And will now be eyeing that P5 of Quintino, because this is direct fight for position. Meanwhile, Thomas Laminen has got another time penalty for speeding in pit lane, meaning that he is out. Hitala's gone for a second pit stop. He's going for hards once more. That's a very early pit stop. He's only driven about 8 or 9 laps on those hards, so that does not seem like the optimal strategy, going for medium hard. Let's go to Liam Stevens. Seems to be having a little bit more pace than Quintino up ahead, as the Bakura has gone past Grob. But for now, even though it's 3/10s, it's 3/10s too much. He can't overcome just yet. It stays P6 for the time being. Yeah, Grob will be dispatched by Zorzo and Boom in a moment's notice, as Klaffenbach has managed to get within a second of Campbell Adams, who moved out of the slipstream a little bit. Did not seem to matter all that much, because there is no DRS yet for Klaffenbach. But now on to start finish straight, he will get that and will be able to stay within striking distance of Campbell Adams. And now here comes the key question. Will Julian decide, okay, it's time for me to go, or will he stay behind and allow Ripasa, Cruiser and Stevens to close up to him and make it a fight all the way to the end? If I were Julian, he would need to try and get past Campbell as soon as possible and try to get about a second between them, because he's got superior pace. He's got a nice buffer so far, and I think he can keep that buffer towards the end of the race. But how quick can you get by, as Quintino picks up yet another penalty for track limits? We're going to see how many penalties we have. It's Quintino actually with 16 seconds to his name after also speeding in the pit lane. And Valentino Labella, he's on 3. The other drivers not on penalties, or not anymore, as they have DNF'd. In the meantime, the position changes. Campbell Adams finds himself 3 positions up with that alternative strategy. Klaffenbach still remains restarted, but will not be for long. We pass it down to Cruzen and Stevens up by 1, Sobrino up by 2, Quintino dropped 4, Dabakor up by 4, Sorzo up by 5, and it's Conrad Boom who's dropped 3 positions down. But our biggest gainers, Zorzo and Lighty, as we now see Klaffenbach take that race lead. Now it looks like indeed he will want to go for a quick one to at least try and keep that distance between him and the other drivers. That gap is now down to 2.5 seconds, but he will need to increase that gap between him and Campbell Adams to about a second within a lap and a half. Otherwise, Ripasa will have caught up, as Ryan Grob now goes for his second pit stop. Let's see what tires he will be putting on. So that is, I think, another set of the hard compounds. Can't see the sides just yet. It will be the hards indeed. Does seem like a reasonable option to go. I also went for about a 10-lap stint. We'll have to do 12 with this. As now, yeah, we go back to the front of the field. Gap to Campbell Adams. 8/10s will come down to 6.5, even 6 low, 5.5s, and the end of that first DRS zone. Repasa still down by 1.4, 1.5. But this is where Klaffenbach needs to make the difference. And look at that, he does! He gains 4 tenths in that Mickey Mouse chicane, and he's now... But has he gone the distance to Campbell Adams? Will Campbell Adams have the DRS here on that back stretch? He does! He still has DRS, so keeps him within striking distance. Also means that he can keep Repasa behind further enough, or far enough, and it hurts Julian's chances on pulling away from everyone else. He's now gone a second again. Campbell Adams now comes into pit lane, so he will go indeed for a 2-stop. And that means Klaffenbach has now got a sizable buffer of 2.2 seconds to the drivers behind. His undercut, so far, proving to be the right call. There we go. He goes for the hearts once more. And now the question is, what is everyone going to do in relation to Campbell Adams, who stopped quite a bit sooner, because they will need to catch up with him once more. And I don't think most of the drivers can wait too long. They could go for hards again. Klaffenbach, maybe they're also looking to extend, to go for mediums, if they can hold on for at least 2-3 more laps. If they go for equal stint lengths compared to Campbell. But that does mean they will need to catch up with Campbell, and that might not be the easiest thing. So a lot of strategy is going to come into play. Repasa will be under pressure on the backstretch by Kuzen. So let's go on board with our Haas driver. As he's now about 5 tenths away, so it won't be easy. He will try to catch up. Does stay within slipstream, so he's going to go by. And that means that these drivers are at the end of their second stint. Will they respond to that pit stop by Campbell Adams? For now, not. So it looks like they're still driving their own race. They're not too worried about Campbell Adams, but his offset strategy should be something to worry about for at least most of these drivers. I think for Julian, he has that extra bit of buffer, so he shouldn't be too worried. He stopped at the right moment in comparison to Kuzen and Repasa. But can he do the same thing later on? Lighty has gone into pit lane, but he also stopped a bit earlier last time round. And expect either the end of this or next lap that our front runners will come in. And that could mean that they will go for a second, third stint that would be. So, second switch onto the mediums as Labella has retired from the set. We have a safety car! Wait a minute. Where did Labella go off? He went off at start. Oh. Okay. Not a place where I was expecting, but this... Oh, I feel bad for Campbell Adams. Campbell Adams just made his pit stop. Lighty just made his pit stop as well. And now with the safety car, a lot of drivers are going to get free pit stops. Campbell Adams will find himself around about P10. The drivers up ahead will get a free pit stop. And Julian, who's done so well to manage about a 2-second gap, sees that entirely eliminated. And we'll have to fight for that once more. But the safety car will stay out. End of 22. They'll go for mediums. I think they're going to go for mediums. Let's see what Julian does. I don't think the front runners were going to do 1-stops at all. As we already had Jonah mentioning in the chat. This does severely hurt Campbell Adams' chances on taking a race win. I think they're going to go for the mediums. Maybe some hards if they want to be conservative. It are hards for Klaffenbach. Conrad Böhm has actually opted to stay out. So maybe he's hoping for a second safety car. Gabor Santos has gotten a penalty for speeding in pit lane. Let's look at the tires. Repasa has gone for mediums. Leon Stevens also wants to take that bet. Kuzen and Klaffenbach don't want to gamble on that. They're still on hards. Campbell Adams is now P6, so it's not the end of the world for him. Quintino has retired, but that's due to his penalties. Gillen's now going to come in. We'll put him back into a potential fight, at least hoping to still get points. We have a few different strategies. Tal actually gone for softs. And Gillen's gone for mediums. There can't be 17 lap holes. So that will change in a moment, indeed. So we have all three compounds currently out on track. One driver will be on the softs. That's toting. That might be a bit too much of a good thing. Then we have the mediums going rather more aggressive. Alex Gillen in P16. Tomasetto in 14th. Lighty in 13th. Gawar Santos in 11th. Lilian Dabacour in 9th. Liam Stevens in 5th, and Luca Ripasa in P4, and all the other drivers on the hards. One driver stayed out, that's Conrad Böhm, and he's currently leading the pack up ahead. Conrad was about P10 before the safety car. So he wants to stick it through until the end. It's going to be a tough one to keep those runners behind him that are going to be on fresh compound, some even compound lighter than him, compound faster with the mediums. So it will not be easy. So we're just gonna see everything drive through. At least Conrad will have his moments of glory, mentioning that he has been ahead of the pack, has been leading this social race, the first lobby of tonight. I think some other drivers that are for the second lobby just joined this one. That will of course need to join another one. Eital and Gillen have come in. Oh, what are they doing? They've let each other over. Are they trying to extend the run? Oh, no, Hitala's lagging. That's what's going on. Hitala's lagging, and Gillen constantly needs to let him through. That's why the gap with the safety car is still staying the way it is. But they will now have to try and cut down on that gap. But for Gillen, this is a real problem, because if there's a little bit of a lag moment, Hitala spawns right in front of him. That could be the end of his race. So not great news for him. The safety car in the meantime shows on... What? The safety car stopped on track. There's no safety car. Okay. We'll call it early features. Game's been out for about a week, but we have no safety car currently. Does mean that we stay behind the safety car, I think, for at least another lap. Will be good news for Hitala currently in P15. Curious to see how this race is going to end now. Let's see if the safety car does pick up our race leader. Okay, thank you for confirming, Alex. So we have a bit of a lobby bug because people from the other lobby were joining. That's caused the issues with the safety car. So let's hope he can pick up the race leader in lap 23 that we are on now. Hitala's still staying quite far away. I'm starting to wonder if he's doing this intentionally to try and extend the safety car run. Because at this point, the safety car will come in a lap. The end of 23 means that we have 6 racing laps. Safety car has indeed picked up race leader once again, so that has been fixed. Let's see how quick Hitala can get to the back of the full grid. So now we are approaching the end of the safety car. Let us know who you think is going to be going for that race win. Will that be Julian Klaffenbach? Will it be Jos Kuzen, Luca Ripasa, Liam Stevens, Campbell Adams, or maybe even Sergio Sobrino, or one of the drivers that I have not even mentioned? Let us know in the chat who you are supporting. Who you think is going to take the race win here? The first social race of the evening for PC here in F125's PSGL. Second week of social racing. And we have safety car in this lap indeed. So, just a few laps remain. It's now controlling the pace straight off the bat. We've seen the real F1 where you want to start, and it's just when you try to get a good exit out of turn 17. So, close to the apex, that's where you want to start off. Let's see if he does do that. So it will be hard to catch the drivers behind him off guard. Maybe someone with fresh tires could go around the 100-meter board. But I think he should just wait for here and now go. And he goes just a tad later. I think that's a good call because behind him, Klaffenbach is already hot on his tail. Will he try to go for the move into turn 1? Klaffenbach so close to Conrad Boom. Wants to go round the outside. That would be a move to remember. Klaffenbach takes the race lead, going round the outside of Conrad Boom in turn 1. What a massive overtake by your Sauber driver, and it means that Joris immediately needs to get by him as well. Those older hards really are not going to hold up against these front runners, but he does. Oh, that's a late move coming in from Ripasa. He's actually managed to get past Kruse instead. So we watch Conrad Boom. The gap ahead to Klaffenbach is already 9/10. But Ripasa, Kruse, Stevens will want to get by him, but can they do so? Is there enough energy left in that racing bull to keep them behind? We see them fly through on the inside. Now there's a Haas on his outside. We'll be switching back to in. There's a little bit of contact there. More contact now. Conrad Boom gets a time penalty, but he did get pushed off a little bit by, I think it was Liam Stevens there. And now already finds himself down into P6. Ripasa has managed to make sure that he stayed within a second of Klaffenbach, so that is going to be good news towards the end of the race, and has also overtaken Jos Kuzen, which we saw earlier on. Look at that, so many drivers want to get past Boom. Already Campbell Adams is now up into P7, 3 men wide out of turn 18, as we have a yellow in sector 3. We have another safety car. Wait, for what? Why do we have another safety car? Honest question. Well, those old hearts definitely weren't working. We see Grob in pit lane, Hital in pit lane. Hital is switching his front wing. He's also retired. The safety car once again hasn't picked up the... Why do we have a safety car? It's not one of those fake safety cars either. Is it? No. Or are we getting cooked here? Are we getting cooked here once more? I think we're getting cooked here once more, aren't we? There is a safety car out on track. Now they've indeed slowed down, so it is actually a real safety car. So it almost confused me a little bit there. The safety car once again has not picked up race leader. So he's just waiting there in turn... Well, after turn 3, that is. Very confusing. But yeah, Conrad Boom once again has opted to stay out, so he's going to lose quite a bit more positions. Ryan Grob has gone into the pits, so he will be on fresh softs. That could mean that he's a danger to still pick up some points here. But yeah, unfortunately he will be falling back even more. He's made a wrong call to stay out. And now with the safety car, well, at least extends his life a little bit. But when is that safety car going to come in? Will it be the end of lap 26 or 27? Is that Boom going in? Boom goes into pit lane, okay. Might be a good call. He does give up P6 here. And actually all the other drivers behind him, quite a few, go into pit lane. So this is great news for Bohm, who only loses from 6 out of 10. He goes for new mediums. That's very conservative. No more softs for him. Van Bussel's gone into softs. Zorzo, Tomasetto, and Lighty as well. So we have 5 drivers on new softs, including Grob, who's managed to gain quite a few positions. Now he's behind Zorzo, so he's gained 2. Zorzo crossed the pit lane exit white lane, so he's gone 10 seconds. That's a new penalty. We're going to see a very hectic end towards this first social race here tonight. Klaffenbach still leads it. He's behind safety car now. But are we going to see safety car in pit lane so we have enough laps racing? Or would it say no, not everyone is caught up? We do another one. I think safety car has to come in now, otherwise we only have 2 racing laps. Contrary to the 3 we would get if they come in now. So let's watch what that safety car does. If it does come in this lap, Sorso gets a 3-second time penalty. If it does come in this lap, we will get a notification now. Oh, actually in a little bit. This is the DRS zone where we got it before. But there is no notification. Sorso got a 10-second time penalty for a contact with Van Bussel. They've also dropped down now, promoting Grobben to PL. What on earth are these guys doing? Has there been more contact? Has there been more damage? Oh no, yeah, they're mad with each other. That was a deliberate brake check from Van Bussel onto Sorso. They've both gone into pit lane and Sorso. Okay. And he gets a penalty for speeding in a pit lane for that. But there was some big damage. Drivers will have something to say about that at the end of the race, but that does also mean that we will have less soft runners in competition for that race win. But the safety car will have to come in at the end of this lap to give them at least 2 laps of racing. Otherwise, it will be only 1. How much closer can those soft runners get to the ones up ahead? And don't forget Conrad Bum, who is now also on fresh mediums. Might be able to get some extra points, but he does have a penalty. Let's look at the full penalties, actually, while we have the time. It's 13 seconds for Gabor. So he's not going to be picking up any points. Conrad Bum has got 3 seconds. Will severely hurt him as well. Lighty's got 10, so it's no points for him either. And the rest is without any. Alright, that is good to know. Up ahead, Ripasa on those mediums. Those mediums will be fresh enough because of the safety cars. Also good news for Stevens. They've made the right choice in terms of compound. But will they also be the fastest drivers out there on track? Should get that notification of safety car in this lap now, and there it is. We will see 2 full laps of racing to determine who wins this first social race, our first lobby of the second of social race, the second week. Last week it was Spain, which was quite a nice one. And tonight, where it started to look like a strategy play, we've now gone onto 2 safety cars, and Julian is trying to wait as long as he can, will pin it at the start of turn 18, has a little bit of oversteer there, but looks like he's caught Ripasa at least a little bit napping, and it means that Cruzen will be hot on his tail. We'll try to at least look for it, but can't make that move. Just take this. Yeah, that Stevens has gone down the inside of Sabrino and's picked up P4. And we see, oh, that's Campbell Adams falling down the order. Campbell Adams has spun out, I think. That must have been contact there. It still shows the safety car. Of course, there is no safety car, so it looks like that bug has... How did Ripasa get past Klaffenberg? That's a very impressive move by Ripasa, who's managed to overtake him in that fast, twisty section of Sector 1. But look how close they are. The top 3... within 1/10, there's almost 4, almost go 4 wide. It's 3-man wide. It's late braking on the outside from Klaffenbach, who wants to keep Cruzen behind. Looks like he can do so, at least for a time being. But it's Ripasa who's managed to get the race lead, at least for now. And Stevens still hot on their tail. He definitely has more pace in those mediums. And along with Dabecourt will be drivers to watch out for. It looks like Van Bussel has been caught up in more contact, so he's dropped further down the line. Campbell Adams also won't be making much of that happen. And we will see the final lap with some DRS. So Ripasa is going to be under pressure. And I think Klaffenbach just let that happen because he knows he's going to be getting 2 chances at this. 2 chances with DRS, but perhaps we'll need to wait for that final one. We go into our final lap. Ripasa is your race leader ahead of Klaffenbach and Cruzen, but Stevens still hot on their tail. So let's go on board with the Alpine driver as Van Bussel gets another penalty. He has retired from the race as well, but our Alpine currently in P4, still hot to take a podium or maybe even more, as Lighty and Tomasetto have also retired from the session. But now here we go. The first DRS zone of that final lap. The first one that will matter. Ripasa will be under serious pressure from Klaffenbach and Cruzen behind. Stevens seems to be dropping down a little bit too much. Klaffenbach does not want to get past. And that allows Stevens to close in a little bit more. So from Stevens' cockpit view, we will see a nice fight up ahead. But we're going to see some position changes. Will it be Cruzen? Will it be Klaffenbach? Or will it be Ripasa to take that race win? We go to Cruzen. We go to Klaffenbach. We get our full view now with Ripasa still in the lead. We have DRS heading into turn 17 with Ripasa defending the inside. Round the outside, we have Klaffenbach who's already gone past, and Cruzen sends it down the inside and flies by. That means it will be Klaffenbach. Stevens still in P2. It's Debecour who's managed to push up into third, even second place. Klaffenbach takes a race win ahead of Stevens, and then it's Debecour who gets a P3. Who would have guessed? It's Ripasa who had to take evasive action for that send from Cruzen, who magically still comes home in fourth. But that send was too much, and it's Klaffenbach to take the race win, and an absolutely unexpected podium from Lilian Debecour after a crazy turn 17. He was so far back. He was in P7 or 8, and he still gets a podium there. Absolutely massive work from him. So we have our podium celebrations, but we want to look at the full results. Let's see. Klaffenbach gets race winner and fastest lap. Driver of the day goes to Ryan Grubb and also has the most overtakes. And the cleanest driver was Lilian Debecour. But more interested in this. Race win to Julian Klaffenbach ahead of Alpine's Liam Stevens, who still picks up a podium. Debecour started in P12, finishes in P3. Great final lap for him after more drivers had to take evasive action. Cruzen still in fourth. Although, I do think quite some drivers will have to say something about that move in the final lap. Grubb in 5th, Dennis Sobrino, Alex Gillen with some nice points in P7, Ripasa down in 8th, who was hoping to get a race win. Gabor still in the points in P9, as Conrad Boehm finishing out in P10. Then we find Campbell Adams, who did not classify, something we have to see later. Thomas Seto in 12th, who retired early, same goes for Lighty. Jerry Van Bussel, Diego Zorzo, Tony Itala, Gabriel Contino, Valentina Labella, Thomas Laminen, and Damien Curiel, who all did not make it to the end. But it's race win for Julian Klaffenbach, and that was quite a nice way to do it. Managed that quite well. Did seem like he let Ripasa by on that second and final lap, in a penultimate lap, and then take it in the final dying moments, right where you want it. Great management from him all the way through. Also the first pit stop that he timed so well. I think a deserved winner of this first social race. Well, that's a voice breaker, isn't it? What what an end towards quite an epic race we have seen here. And this is just the social races, the real season. Season 40 has yet to start here on F1 25. Huge shout out to PSGL, of course, for hosting these social races. There's another one currently going on the other channel that's being hosted by Corey Brooks and Omi, so make sure to tune in with that as well. I can quickly tell you which drivers are there. We have the likes of Felipe Salza, Russian Jacobs, Marcel Paps, Leo Lund, of course, who we know, Cameron Dowds, who we've seen before, Reyes Imchas, Alexander Dimas, familiar face, Alexi Covero, Matthijs van Erven, Justin Aerts, Larry Toolkey. So quite a stacked grid there as well, just like we saw here. But yeah, unexpected podium, seeing how it was heading into the final lap. There we had Ripasa, Klaffenbach, Cruzen, and we finish with Klaffenbach, Stevens, and Debecour. So interesting one, but great race all the way through the end. Let's quickly see the chat. Let's see what the drivers are mentioning about that race. They are laughing a bit about the end. I think Stevens already sent a replay of that full send. And Cruzen also mentioning that his quali setup was not ideal. But quite a nice social race that we've had here, and I think we won't keep everyone waiting for too long. The only thing I can say, there will be more social races. I believe there will be 2 more weeks of social races. But Correct me if I'm wrong. Definitely stay up to date with them and make sure that you drive in those if you are able to sign up for them. If not, make sure to get yourself ready for the new season, season 40, due to start in about a couple months time, hopefully, so you can be on the grid. F1, F2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 will be streamed, so if you're in one of those categories, you'll find yourself on the streams every week, week in, week out. And it goes for PC, and then of course PS and Xbox will have their different series on the Mondays, with PC on the Thursday. That's it for tonight though. That's it for me hosting it. I'll take a little bit of a break to let my voice recover, and thank you for bearing with me. Hopefully I did not talk all the way too much, and I hope you enjoyed this second social race. For me, this is it for tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have a very good night. See you soon.